Hi, everyone. Welcome in. We're super excited to go ahead and get started today. We've got a presentation with Kirsten Davis from our UCA Counseling Center. She's going to talk all about seasonal depression, all good things we can do to work on that and improve that. So, just a few reminders before we get started on BeWell. We are just days away from that BeWell deadline. It is next week. So, be sure that you turn in your biometric screening, you get your health risk assessment survey completed, and all of your lifestyle reward points turned in that you need. If you have any questions about any of that, I'm going to have some time at the end of the presentation where we'll open up for Q&A for Kirsten, or you're more than welcome to ask me questions then, or give me a call or shoot me an email, or you're welcome to come by my office as well. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Kirsten.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and pull up this PowerPoint. If it will let me do that. Come on. There we go. All right. So as Madeline said, I am Kirsten Davis. I am an LAC licensed associate counselor here at the Counseling Center. I've been here since 2022. I got my undergrad and graduate degree here. And then once the job opened up, I said, hey, why not come back? So UCA is special to me in that way. Today I have it listed as seasonal affective disorder here. That is like the colloquial term that we use to it in addition to seasonal depression. But today, that's what we're going to be talking about. So, kind of the signs and symptoms. So, right here, I've got just kind of our expectations. So, learning about the prevalence and symptoms of seasonal affective disorder. So, when you see SAD, that's seasonal affective disorder. We're also going to explore a little bit about different treatment approaches for seasonal affective disorder, as well as receiving additional resources for coping with it. So I may switch back and forth between how I label seasonal affective disorder, just because for one, that's kind of a mouthful. And the technical term is even more of a mouthful. It's major depressive disorder with seasonal pattern. So it's not its own standalone disorder. It's like subcategory under major depressive disorder. So I may just call it seasonal depression or something like that just to make it a little easier. Approximately 5% of people have full-blown, like diagnosable seasonal depression, but about 3 times as many people have a milder diversion or milder version, which we usually call like winter or holiday blues. You may hear that when people kind of just talk about feeling sad around the holidays. So the difference between that and actual like diagnosable seasonal depression is that when it comes to winter or holiday blues, the sadness or the anxiety is associated with the stress at the times of the year. So it's with like holidays, or maybe if you have a stressful family situation, things like that. That's more so what we're looking at with winter or holiday blues. So it's associated with the calendar instead of like the change in daylight hours, which is what seasonal depression is related to. Seasonal depression is diagnosed more frequently in women and younger adults. It's also more likely in people who already have like major depressive disorder or bipolar disorder or some other kind of mood disorder that may impact depression. It's also more common in people who live further north due to limited daylight hours. So Alaska, you're going to be seeing a lot more there than you would in like Arkansas or even southern, like in South America. Not to say that we don't get it here, because we definitely do, but places where the daylight hours are really limited, you're going to see it more frequently there. It also usually begins and ends around the same time each year. So typically around fall or winter, that's usually what we talk about, but it can also happen in the spring and early summer as well. So the symptoms of seasonal depression are the same as you would see in any other depressive disorder. So feeling depressed most of the day, nearly every day, losing interest in activities that you once enjoyed, having low energy or fatigue, having problems sleeping, which could be sleeping too much or not sleeping enough, experiencing changes in your appetite or weight, which again can be either having a bigger appetite than normal or not having much of an appetite. Also feeling sluggish or agitated, having difficulty concentrating, feeling hopeless, worthless, or guilty, and having frequent thoughts of death or suicide. So I wanted to distinguish a little bit between fall and winter seasonal depression versus spring and summer, just because like they do, even though of course they're both under the depression umbrella, they do have pretty distinct differences. So in the fall and winter, what you see more frequently is oversleeping, like sleeping more than you normally would. Whereas with spring and summer, you usually have more trouble sleeping, like insomnia. Also, you have appetite changes with both of them. So with fall and winter, it's more of like you have a bigger appetite than usual. You're really craving those foods high in carbs, really like those comfort foods. Whereas in spring and summer, you may have less of an appetite and not really want to eat that much. In fall and winter, it's more associated with weight gain again because of the craving for foods high in carbs. And in spring and summer, it's more associated with weight loss, again, because of the poor appetite. In fall and winter, you typically have more tiredness or low energy, whereas in spring and summer, you have more agitation or anxiety. And in fall and winter, you have more social withdrawal, like you feel like you want to just stay in and hibernate kind of thing. And with in spring and summer, you can actually see more violent or even aggressive behaviors. So even though they're both under the same depression umbrella, they look pretty differently. So there are several potential causes for seasonal depression. We're really not sure exactly what it is. We do have more research on the fall and winter seasonal depression than we do in the spring and summer. So we know a little more about that, but even that, it's kind of just, there are several options. We don't know exactly which one it is. So for one, with serotonin levels, so people with seasonal depression often have reduced levels of serotonin, which helps regulate our mood. So the reduced sunlight may also prevent serotonin molecules from functioning properly because sunlight is really tied in with that serotonin, and that can lead to decreased serotonin in the winter. And in a similar vein, that melatonin levels can be impacted too. So people with winter pattern seasonal depression may produce too much melatonin, which can increase sleepiness and lead to oversleeping. Summer pattern seasonal depression may have less melatonin, which is makes it more difficult to sleep, and it's more consistent with like the long hot days making your sleep worse, and the higher temps may cause sleep disruptions, but that hasn't been like systematically tested. So again, we've got some evidence, but not really enough to say that that's what's happening. Also, one theory is vitamin D. So vitamin D also helps promote that serotonin activity. That's why like the sunlight linked to the vitamin D links to the serotonin. So that vitamin D is a lot of times consumed technically through sunlight, but also through the food that we eat too. So if there is less exposure to sunlight, you're getting less vitamin D than normal. Uh, and along with that, like serotonin and melatonin both help maintain the body's natural rhythm associated with the day-night cycle or our circadian rhythm. So that can disrupt our normal daily rhythms and make it difficult to adjust to the seasonal changes with day length, which leads to sleep, mood, and behavior changes. There may also be, we found that there are negative thoughts and feelings about the winter or summer and associated stresses that are common with people with seasonal depression, but we're not sure if that is like, is this because, does this cause seasonal depression or is it like a side effect of? So we're not sure which one it is, but there is a link there. So luckily, there are several different like treatment approaches that you can try. So talk therapy for one, that can be helpful with seasonal depression by helping teach people new ways of thinking and behaving or like changing habits that could contribute to depression. Also medication like antidepressants, specifically like SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. They can be helpful when used by themselves or in combination with therapy. They change how your brain produces or uses those hormones so that it just makes it a little easier for you to kind of deal with those negative thoughts when if they do arise. However, those do take time. I mean, SSRIs usually take at least a month, typically like 6 to 8 weeks to see full effects, and they often have side effects too. So you can use those as well, but it is a little more difficult whenever it comes to short-term things like seasonal depression. Light therapy or phototherapy is very common whenever it comes to treating seasonal depression. That is where people can like sit in front of a bright light box to make up for the diminished natural sunlight that you're getting. So typically they'll sit in front of a bright light box every day for about 30 to 45 minutes, usually in the morning when they're kind of waking up, maybe getting ready for work or something like that. The light box filters out potentially damaging UV light, which makes it safe for most people. But people with certain eye diseases or that are taking certain medications that can make them more sensitive to light, that may not work out well for them. So, of course, with all of this, like something that you can talk to your doctor about and see what would be most helpful for that. Also, vitamin D may help with things, but the studies that have tested vitamin D as like a specific standalone treatment for seasonal depression have mixed results. Some say that it helps, some say that it really doesn't. So that's more so just if you already have a vitamin D deficiency, which is always something that talk to your doctor about, get blood tests, see if that's something that you're actually dealing with. And there's no specific treatments for summer pattern seasonal depression, just because, again, we haven't studied it as much as winter pattern. So maybe someday we'll have better answers for that, but not currently. If you don't want to have to go through a full regimen and you just want to try some simpler things to help out with seasonal depression, there are lots of ways that you can try to do that. So, for one, kind of like with the light therapy, making sure that you do get some sunlight, especially in the morning. So, it's hard when you wake up and the day it's dark outside and you have to drive to work in the dark. But if you have a window in your office, having that open so that you can get that sunlight, or just being able to get that however you can, like taking a walk during lunch, something like that. Also, keeping your bedroom electronic free, that will help with your serotonin, not your serotonin, your melatonin and your circadian rhythm by keeping away like the blue light from your phones. So being able to like keep TVs, phones, things like that out of your bedroom, that will help promote better sleep. Also, like I said earlier, going outside, like if you go for a walk or just to sit outside for a little bit, especially right now when the weather is nice, that's a good way to get some of that vitamin D and just feel a little better. Also, getting a plant that can help us feel more like we're kind of outside. If you're like me and you have a black thumb, the fake plants don't really provide the same amount of benefits, but it's better than nothing. So, just kind of trying to tell your brain, like, hey, we're in a more natural environment can help with that too. In a similar sense, kind of having bright colors around yourself, like white, green, or yellow, just to not feel like things are so dark or dreary, but having something bright to look at just to like trick your brain a little bit. Also, exercising and having a balanced diet will help out a little bit. Not that you have to go fully clean eating or anything like that, but making sure that you get in like everything that you need, getting in some vegetables. Not, it's fine to have some of the carbs, but not like fully loading up on it. And again, exercise is always good for our mental health. So being able to be active in whatever way is helpful and enjoyable for you. Also, talking to family and friends, just like it is with any other problem that you have, talking to family and friends can help make you feel a little better, make things a little easier to deal with. Not smoking and drinking as much. So, like, again, it's not something you have to fully cut out, but even if you do it, like doing it in moderation, just because like that can also contribute to a negative mental health, mental state and maintaining healthy sleeping habits. So for one, like we said, keeping the bedroom electronic free, making sure that you have a consistent sleeping schedule, doing what you can to try to stay asleep during the night. I know that can be hard, but whatever you can to do that, just maintaining healthy sleeping habits in general can make a big impact on your mental health. So we do have additional resources as well. We have the Employee Assistance Program where you can receive short-term counseling information or referral to a long-term counselor if needed. This is available to UCA employees, spouses, and dependents. So if you have a need for it, definitely take advantage of it. The counseling center used to see faculty and staff, but right now we don't have the capacity for that. So we're only seeing students, but the EAP is a good substitute for that. Another one is the community care clinic. So that's a great new resource that we have that you can take advantage of through insurance. Also, there's a great book that I personally haven't read, but it has been recommended to me, Winter Blues by Norman Rosenthal. It helps just kind of like understand that seasonal depression a little more. So these are my references here, and thank you for your time. Madeline, are we taking questions?
Yes, I was gonna see if anyone had any questions for you. If they wanted to, they can unmute themselves or feel free to put it in the chat and I can read it out to you. But
Yeah,
um, in the meantime, I was gonna say thank you for that short presentation. It's always helpful to just hear, if you ever have felt that way, you're not alone, and
absolutely.
maybe some of the science behind like, why you feel that way.
Mhm.
That's always helpful and encouraging. Does anybody have any questions? I'm gonna get the certificate of attendance pulled up so people can screenshot that for their points. Um, can y'all see that okay?
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. Someone asked what light should they look for?
That's something that there's kind of like conjecture on. You can get on Amazon and order some if you're just looking. I'm trying to remember like what specifically you're looking for. But if you look up like a light therapy box, I would read the reviews. Honestly, I don't have a personal recommendation for it, but I've heard from some people that like, no, you have to get this $200 one that's expensive. That's the only one that works. And then I've had other people that are like, I bought one for like 15 to $20 and it works just fine.
Hmm.
So there's different opinions on that, but I
Yeah.
listen, Amazon reviews have rarely done me wrong. So if you look up light therapy box, then you'll be able to find different options.
Is that similar to like I've seen people do like I know there's like red light therapy. I think that's more for like your skin, but I don't know if that was like similar to kind of the same thought process.
I'm not sure exactly because I am nowhere near like a dermatologist or anything. I don't know how the
Yeah.
red light therapy works. But it's really just it's trying to simulate that sunlight for the
Mm-hmm.
light box. So it's literally just like a box that you put and you just turn it on. It's very bright, so be prepared for that. Because I have one, which again, I was told to get the super expensive one. Is it better? I don't know. I have a coworker who has the cheap one and she says it's great. So like I can even show you. Hold on. If it's
Oh
plugged in,
yeah,
we've got one. It is incredibly bright.
that is bright. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So even when I do turn it on, I put it like kind of far away from me just so I can still see. But yeah, there's a lot of different options out there.
Yeah. I'm glad you also talked about the resources on campus because that was
Mhm.
something I was going to touch on. We do have, again, that EAP program, and that is in person here in Conway. They also can do in person in Little Rock. They also do telehealth, like just like Zoom, like this, or they can do over the phone. So, really, honestly, they are trying to, meet you where you're at, whatever you feel most comfortable talking about those things. But they are a great resource. So please, please, please use that. And again, that is for you and your spouse, your children as well. So they are really equipped to deal with any of those issues. If it is something beyond what they're capable of working with, they are great on, recommending you out to somebody. And then the counseling center community. Oh my gosh, I'm tripping over my words. The community center. here at the CCC on campus, they have a really great, I think they have multiple mental health counselors that are really great as well. So, and I was just going to remind everyone too, if you do attend mental health counseling, whether that's through the EAP program, through us, through somebody else, any type of mental health counseling, you can get points for that. So you can just submit proof of that. And again, I know some people, um, may get nervous about like, well, I don't want people to know. Everything is confidential, so no one is going to know if you submitted points for that. And so you can submit points for that and earn, I believe, up to I think 50 points. There's quite a bit of points for that. So, but yeah. Anybody else have any questions regarding the presentation or even BeWell deadline, BeWell points, anything? All right. Well, thank you so much, Kirsten. That was so helpful. Thank y'all for attending. Be on the lookout. You'll be getting an email shortly, just with a post survey. We always send these out after our presentations just to get some feedback, so we can continue to improve these, for you guys. All right. Well, thank you so much. I hope everybody has a good rest of your day and good rest of their semester as well.